Hello there, how are you? In this video, we'll see the subject-verb concord rule. Whenever we talk about concord, we talk about a relationship that is established between two grammatical units within a clause, which are the subject and the verb. There exist three types or three principles for concord, which are grammatical concord, notional concord, and the principle of proximity. We'll see them in detail now. First, let's talk about grammatical concord. And in grammatical concord, there's a general rule which establishes that the subject and the verb must agree in terms of number and person. This means if we have a singular subject, there must be a singular verb. And if we have a plural subject, we need a plural verb. But there are some special cases, which are the following. Okay. There are some nouns which are plural, although they do not finish in the suffix s. This is the case for zero plurals, for example. In these cases, concord establishes that there is no variation in the verb, either for singular or plural cases. In the first example, the word ship has a singular reference, and we are using also a singular verb. While in the second example, the word ship has a plural connotation, it has a plural reference, so we apply a plural verb. On the other hand, there exist a number of nouns which structurally includes the letter S within the word, but they have a singular meaning. It is the case for some nouns, for example, news, billiards, measles, species, and some others. And as they convey a singular meaning, we need to apply a singular verb to these subjects. Here we have two examples in which these words are used as subjects and we apply a singular verb. However, there is an exception for this rule, and this is applied whenever we use nouns related to fields of study. Examples are acoustics, genetics, mathematics, politics, and some others. In these cases, we can either apply a singular verb or a plural verb according to the meaning of the context. So if we talk about the field of study in general terms or as a whole, we may apply a singular verb, as in the first example. While in the second example, we are talking about the single individuals that are part of a specific group. In the case of coordinated subjects, concord varies according to the ideas conveyed within these subjects and the choice of coordinator. Subjects coordinated by the word and suggest a plural reference, so they take a plural verb, no matter if the subjects are equal in number and person or if they are different. In the following examples, we have a singular subject plus a singular subject. In the second example, we have two plural subjects which are coordinated by the word and in the third example, we have dissimilar subjects. One is plural and the other is singular, and also in this example, we apply a plural verb. There's also an exception for this rule, and it happens when the subjects coordinated by the word and are inherent characteristics of the noun, as in the following example. The poet and singer has come. In this case, we use a singular verb because these two characteristics are part of a single item. In this case, a person that is at the same time a poet and a singer. In cases where the subjects are coordinated by the word or, concord varies between singular or plural forms according to the number of these subjects. If both subjects are singular, then a singular verb is applied. And if both subjects are plural, a plural verb is applied. But what happens if the subjects are dissimilar in number? Well, if there is a plural subject between these two items coordinated, then a plural verb is applied. In these examples, The piano and the bookcase are singular, so we apply a singular verb. But in the second example, the tables and the piano are dissimilar in number, and we have a plural noun there, so we apply a plural verb.
In the case of subjects coordinated by the correlative coordinator neither nor, the same we've seen in the previous example happens here. If the coordinated subjects are singular, a singular verb is required, and if they are plural, then a plural verb is required. In the following examples, the first shows a coordinated subject where both subjects are singular, so a singular verb is used, and the second example has two plural subjects coordinated by neither nor, so a plural verb is used.
Again, what happens if the coordinated subjects are dissimilar in number? If we have a singular noun and a plural noun as coordinated subjects with neither nor, we need to apply another principle we'll see later. Regarding quantifying expressions, there are some indefinite pronouns which suggest a plural reference, although they are always used with singular verbs, and these are the cases of those indefinite pronouns finished in body, thing, one. For example, nobody has their fridges repaired anymore. We have an example of an indefinite pronoun finished in the suffix body. This has a plural reference, but see that a singular verb is used. There are a number of indefinite pronouns which are followed by of phrases, as for example the pronouns all, some, any, none, most, and the like. And concord varies in this case according to the noun which follows the of phrase. We have two examples here. In the first, we have applied a singular verb because it has a singular reference, and in the second examples, we applied a plural verb because copies or the copies suggest a plural reference. Concord varies with collective nouns in British English and in American English. In British English, collective nouns generally may take both either singular or plural verb forms according to the meaning of the subject. When a singular verb is used with a collective noun, the focus is applied to the group as a whole. They are considered a unit. And whenever a plural verb is used with a collective noun, the focus is applied to each individual that is part of that group.
Let's see some examples. In the first, the subject is seen as a single unit or as a whole, and we're using a plural verb. And in the second example, we can see the public as a collection of individuals, so it takes a singular verb. In American English, however, the tendency goes towards the use of singular verbs only. Here we have an example, and in this example, the government is seen as a collection of individuals, so a singular verb is used.
There are cases where we need to apply subject-verb inversion. This means first goes the verb and after we have the subject. An example of this is the use of existential there, and in these cases, concord varies between singular or plural form according to the noun phrase which is placed after verb be. In this example, we have a lift as a noun phrase which is singular, so we need to apply a singular verb. This is another construction which requires subject-verb inversion, and in this case, keys is plural, so we need to apply a plural verb. The same happens in questions where we need to alter the common order we have in statements. In this case, the relatives is plural too, so we need to apply a plural verb. In some others, we have subjects that are made up of clauses. In these cases, singular concord is the rule, no matter if the clause is either a finite clause or a non-finite clause. Here we have some examples. In the first example, we have a non-finite clause being the subject and a singular verb is needed. And in the second example, we have a finite clause, but we also need a singular verb. In cases of nominal relative clauses, these relative clauses which begin with a WH word, concord varies in singular or plural forms, both can be used. Here we have some examples. In the first example, we have applied a singular verb, and in the second example, we have applied a plural verb. In contrast to grammatical concord, notional concord occurs when the agreement between the subject and the verb is determined by meaning more than form. This happens a lot with compound nouns and plural subjects, which can work as a single unit or a single item, so it sounds more natural for the subject to take a singular verb instead of following the common rule we established in grammatical concord that whenever we have a singular subject, we need a singular verb, or whenever we have a plural subject, we need a plural verb. Here we have a list of nouns which generally follow notional concord. The first item is plural proper nouns, those nouns that are made of a plural, but in fact they are related to a single item. The United States, the New York Times. United States in this case is a reference for a country, and the New York Times for newspaper. Titles and quotations in generals. We have two examples here. The Three Musketeers has a plural reference, but we need to apply a singular verb. Rosemary and Rue, it's the name of a book. In this case, we also need to apply a singular verb. The other case is for plural expressions of quantity and units of measurement. We have two examples, 10 pounds, 3 miles. These expressions of quantity and measurements also need to follow a singular verb. And the last one is compound units like bed and breakfast, mac and cheese. It happens a lot with names of dishes and some other compound nouns. Finally, we need to talk about the principle of proximity. The principle of proximity denotes agreement to the closest noun phrase within the subject. This happens whenever we have a subject that is composed of different grammatical persons. This means one of the subjects may be singular and the other may be plural. So the verb will apply or will take a singular form or a plural form according to this last noun phrase. Let's see two examples. In the first, more than suggests a plural reference, but one passenger suggests a singular reference. As one passenger is the noun phrase that is closest to the verb, that verb will apply a singular form. That's why we have was there. In the second example, not one has a singular reference, but people has a plural reference. So, as people is the last or the closest noun phrase within this subject, we apply a plural verb too. Previously in grammatical concord, we were talking about correlative coordinators and the choice between singular and plural verbs according to the number of the subjects, which are coordinated, right? In the cases where the grammatical persons are different, we need to apply the principle of proximity. So the verb will take the singular or plural form according to the closest noun phrase. Here we have two examples. In the first one, we have different grammatical persons coordinated by neither nor. The first one is singular, James, and the second is plural, the laborers. In the following example, we have two coordinated subjects by either or. One is plural, the first, and the other is singular. As the singular is closest to the verb will take a singular form. To conclude, I want to give you some tips to analyze this subject-verb concord rule. The first one is try to establish which is the main verb of the major clause. Once you have identified the verb, see if it's singular or plural. Then go to the subject and analyze that subject. If you have a singular subject, if you have a plural subject, if you have a coordinated subject. And if you have a coordinated subject, think if both subjects are singular, if they are plural, or if they contain different grammatical persons. Bear in mind all these special cases for grammatical concord. Think about proximity and notional concord. Okay guys, that's all for this video. Any doubts, please contact me and see you soon.